I'd like to go back to a 5-year-old Andy Ransom.
5-year-old Andy Ransom. I'm not sure I can remember that, but I'll do my best. Yeah, look, I mean, I was brought up in a tiny little village, about 500 people in the village. My dad was the village postman. Oh. My parents didn't own their own home, didn't even own a car, actually. So I went to this tiny little village school, then I went to secondary school, which wasn't very good, and then I moved to a different part of the UK, where I went to another school, which was even worse than the first one. So I had a reasonably, it was a lovely upbringing, a wonderful upbringing, but a pretty down to unremarkable, and schooling was equally unremarkable. You know, I was going to leave school at 16. I hadn't done particularly well, and I'd got a job, and I was going to leave, and then one day I discovered that all my friends were staying on to do the sixth form, as we call it, and I thought, well, I don't want to be left behind. So I went back to school, finished up, and I did really well. And then I went to university, studied law, and I did well doing that. And then I became a lawyer, started in a London law firm, and then I joined this big chemical company. And one thing rolled into another, and I suppose my time at ICI, I mean, I'm a deal guy, I'm an M&A transaction lawyer, and I did that for years and years and years. What I found, though, was that for me, I was a decent lawyer, but I wasn't a great lawyer, but I was good at the transaction side. I loved the negotiation, I loved the deal.
And you still do.
I still do. I'm an absolute deal junkie. I can't get enough of that. And then on this one fateful occasion, I was walking down the office one afternoon, and I saw the fax machine going. You remember a fax machine? The fax was coming through, and I picked up the fax off the fax machine, and I read it, and oh my God, we were being sued. My company, chemical company, was being sued, and Johnny Cochran, who'd just won the O.J. Simpson case, was suing my company for billions. What the hell? What was this all about? And it was all in relation to the Oklahoma City bombing. 168 people were killed in that incident, the biggest terrorist incident on US soil at that time. And McVeigh and Nichols, if you remember, they were the guys who planted the bomb and caused this explosion. They'd used our chemicals, they'd used our fertilizer chemicals,
the ammonium nitrate,
to create the bomb. And Johnny Cochran brought this multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. And even though it was good, you know, I wasn't a litigation lawyer, I wasn't an American attorney, I looked at that and I said, you know, I just want to be, I want to defend this. This is outrageous. I want to do this.
You never thought and stopped and said, well, maybe I'm not the right guy to do this based on my experience?
Well, yeah, I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did for many occasions. I probably thought I shouldn't be doing this. But it was important to me, and it was, yeah, so I went to my boss and I said, look, I want to defend this. And he made all the arguments, you know, why it wasn't a good idea. But I moved the family to Canada. We lived in Canada for a few years, moved to America. And I spent 5 years defending the company against what was an outrageous lawsuit. And so that sort of took me away from mainstream deal making. It took me into a different world. I ended up running part of the business when I was in America, came back, I became head of M&A. And then as these things happen, you know, after a wonderful 20-year history of doing all sorts of things in the company, we were taken over.
Yep.
And that was a sort of, well, okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a deal guy? Do I want to be an attorney? Do I want to be commercial? And there were 5 of us running ICI at the time, and 3 of us sort of got together and said, well, maybe we could continue working together as a team. And one thing led to another, this Rentokil thing, well, no idea what this is about. This came along, and 3 of us came into the company. So I guess I got lucky, because when I came into Rentokil, they gave me all the stuff they knew I could do, the deal stuff and the legal stuff. And they started to give me, I and my colleagues started to give me some other responsibilities. And about a year in, I got pest control as the business to run. And instantly I knew what a special business, what a special industry that was. And so it's quite gradual, my move from deal making and corporate development and legal and all of that history to I just landed in the right place. And it was such a different business from what I'd been used to. That was about coming up with product and selling great product. This was all about people. And that was the minute I knew, wow, that I found my natural home. This was a real light bulb moment for me, a very different type of business.